Many people say this isn't a real sport, but it doesn't have to be. Even the best in the world have proven to fall against the ones that can master one punch 1,000 times. These are the cream of the crop in a not-so-familiar world that sees thousands of new faces every single hour. These scientists of speed who only push themselves further in such an unfathomable environment because they felt like it. This is the mad dance of a hyper-focused mind trained to feel force through only their senses of sight and their sense of flow. A flow strong enough to know when a mistake has been made before it's even happened. Not to mention the superhuman instincts needed to tell their fingers when to pull the trigger. This is the culmination of eons of training, the final test of reactions and wits, and the endless rampage to be the one who stands tallest on a pedestal with no physical form. These are the Kings of Kings. This is Formula Apex. Welcome back to the 6th round of Apex King of Kings. Now, if you remember what happened in the previous race, you know that it was absolute disaster for the championship leader. But why was that, I hear you asking? He increased his lead in the Drivers' Championship. Well, that's only because the person who was in second didn't even show up. And Jay-Z disconnected in the middle of the race, so he was only able to get a couple of pity points. Meanwhile, just behind him, his closest and fiercest rivals, HVSK and Beastiver, have been closing in at an alarming rate, to the point where HVSK is now in the top 3. And considering that there's not that many points separating HVSK and Jay-Z after that major issue from Jay-Z's end, we may see a fight to the end of the championship from them. But of course, to win a battle, you have to show up to it, and we haven't showed up to all of the races yet. And coming up next is a rather terrifying course, Czechia. It's a pretty tricky map that's relatively short, but perhaps the detail that's scariest about this is that this race is gonna at least start in the rain. So that means that not only is the meta pick of the 2010 car on this track not an option, but on top of that, these drivers are going to have to be extra careful if they either A, don't want to pick up too many track limits, or B, get enticed to do a very special trick in the second sector of Czechia. And I think you probably know what I'm talking about when I refer to that. But they better not take the bait, as if they take that shortcut, they not only get disqualified, but they lose 5 championship points in the process. So, who's going to come out on top in our most attended race ever as of today? We'll just have to wait and see. Will Beastiver get another win on his belt? Will it be someone else making a jump? Or will we see another surprise from the back of the grid? This is the biggest attendance of any race so far, and the scramble truly begins now as the lights go out, and Semi-Bargum, for the first appearance of the 2016 car, immediately stalls it on the line. If that's not unfortunate, I don't know what is. Okay, we are still recording, good. Crumben has actually gotten off to a decent start considering the instability of the 2010 car, because using the 2010 car during a wet Czechia is basically just asking to spin it out. A super unstable track in a super unstable set of conditions. He's basically just asking for pain by doing that. And RVR Katalin is also playing it relatively safe too, considering what he's picked. But it's Beastmo once again who finds himself into a decent lead as JZ50 has taken a huge risk and has picked the 1992 car. That car's going to give him double the points, but he seemed to pick it at a very poor time, considering that there are 12 people in attendance. If he doesn't finish in the points, he will get nothing. So that really could be a pretty critical blunder, especially considering that HVSK, who's one of his closest rivals, has gone with the IndyCar and he's making it stick, but he does slip a little bit there, forcing him to take a corner cut. That right there proves how unstable these cars truly are, but currently, it's Beastova on Katalin on Crumvin. Crumvin, I'm pretty sure, recently passed RVR Katalin, but that's mainly because of RVR Katalin's lack of attendance in the previous race, so they're battling to try and take back second place, while Beastova and HVSK are on a sprint to try and catch up to JZ, who's just sort of hanging out in the back. Eibrondan isn't really having a good time either, because he's not only just barely in the points, but he's only picking a car which gives him 0 bonus points. Yeah, no bonus points on the 2007 car, as it's actually the fastest car you can pick in wet races. It's the best all-rounder, it's the best at keeping you stable, it's generally the best at everything. But then, flicking through the rest of the field, the front runners are all people who are taking some pretty significant risks. I mean, take a look at Crumvin. Crumvin almost spins again. That's 2 spins, or 2 near spins, in the span of just 2 laps. If that doesn't prove how unstable these cars are in the wet, I don't know what does. And it's seeming like the weather's going to seemingly continue at this rate, but who knows? The weather in shit. And we already have a spin. Real Immortals, who is using the 2021 Renault, which notably was one of the fastest cars all the way back in Japan. It's spun out multiple times now. Maybe the car's a variable? I'm not sure. But look at this. It's JC50 getting ahead of Real Immortals. I can imagine that's not going to last for too long, or maybe it might do, considering Real Immortals doesn't have a front wing. But this is huge for JC50 because he needs every point he can get in that back locker. Although he's not too far behind from the bulk of the crowd, so maybe it was an interesting idea to pick it anyway. Okay, flicking through the four under the pack, we again have a repeat from what we saw in the previous race, as HVSK is having a duel with Crumvin. Actually, wait, no, that was JZ50 who was having a duel with Crumvin, and he was using the IndyCar in the previous race. We are 6 races into this league, so my mind is inevitably going to melt a little bit. But also, do keep in mind that even though we're in the raid, if we're looking at cars which take a lot of tire wear, they're naturally not going to be that hindered by this, because at 20 laps... It's a full spin! It's a full spin from Crumvin! He controlled it twice, but he wasn't able to control it the 3rd time, and like an auction, he sold it at the 2nd sector of the 3rd lap. That right there... Yeah, Crumvin may have tried to prove himself by picking the 2010 car, but that facade may potentially be slipping. But Benjamin, the person who's closest to him, makes yet another slip, and HVSK is also climbing up the boards as much as he can, using a car that's going to give him double the points. This is going to be massive for this championship battle, because if HVSK can get a podium while scoring double points, that's a cool 30-point bank for HVSK. And that is going to close the gap so much, especially considering that his rival, JZ50, is having a battle for 7th with a guy who has a broken front wing. If JZ50 keeps on bleeding these points, then it's going to be hell to pay for him. And Beastova, hold on a second, Beastova has set the fastest lap in the 2024 car in the wet. So this is kind of a repeat from what we saw in the previous race, considering that he picked the same car there, he absolutely blitzed it, and he, as a result, ended up getting a total of 30 points as well, the same amount that HVSK will get if he finishes 3rd. So yeah, if this is good news for both of them, but terrible news for JZ50, as he needs a miracle to climb up the boards now. Not much is entirely going on in the field, but the closest fight I can see is the one for the closest fight on track right now is a battle between JZ50 and Real Immortals. Real Immortals, of course, in the faster car, but he broke his front wing very early and is basically praying for a shift in the weather to essentially justify him shifting out his front wing again. And Call me crazy, but I think I can see the sky starting to clear up a little bit. I'm not too sure. Oh, and we have our first retirement as already the guy in the 2016 car has just decided to leave. That right there is hilarious. All the 2016 enthusiasts waited all that time to have one single rep, and they leave before they can even get started. That says it all. Is like the 2016 car aren't going to be like the big meme of this league. Okay. Cool Gamer Kid is actually getting very close to Crumben, who Crumben had a chance to like fight with the front runners, considering the condition his vehicle was in and how everyone else started. But now he's starting to slip further and further down the order, considering the instability of the car, and it's really coming to backstab him as Cool Gamer Kid is getting closer and closer. Crumben, of course, in a battle to try and maintain second place, which he will end up losing if he stays in this position against HVSK Katalin, who's picked the same car as them, but is now in second place. Hold on. My throat's getting full. Yeah, if you look in the sky, I'm pretty certain the skies are starting to clear up. The fog is starting to get less thin. And now, maybe the right time for someone to make the call to switch to enters. I'm not too sure, though, and it'll be up to the driver's perception for if they decide to box for a new compound. Beastover at the front definitely has the most to lose when it comes to this, as their rival, HVSK Katalin, are using the exact same car, so it would be a flat decrease if Beastover were to be the one to lose it. But of course, if the rain is getting lighter, then that could potentially mean if someone pulls off a move, they may potentially be able to gun for the fastest lap. Oh, and it's a crash! Eibrondan, who was suffering for the entire race, crashes super early on in lap 6. Hold on, is he using the full wets? Yeah, he also got for the full wets, so maybe this is something to do with the weather, I'm not too sure. If he was recording his POV, then we may be able to see what happened towards that little incident. But now, if someone finishes, then they will end up in the points. The battle between... Hold on. Did Crumben fall back? And how is Real Immortals is climbing up the order and has made it up to 5th place with a broken front wing? What kind of a run is this? Oh, he's nearly making a mistake again, but he controls it expertly. He recovers that mistake, while ironically just behind him, Crumben makes the same slipping error. Their decision to pick the 2010 car may start to bite them in the ass, and I'm pretty sure it actually already has, and they're already beginning to see the marks. Hold on! Beastover has made a critical decision as they've decided to switch to the intermediate tires. It's a big gamble for them to try and take, and if it works out, they'll be able to fly ahead if they had the foresight to pick the correct tire compound. But of course, HVSK Katalin is now just a little bit behind them, so if the weather starts to pick up again, that will mean that HVSK Katalin has a chance to fly into the lead. Of course, I'm not too sure what weather's going to be like favoring it, because, you know, I can't look into the future, but if Beastover starts to have issues from picking the intermediates, then he's going to have to shift quick, considering how close HVSK Katalin is to him. It's all about taking a risk and doing a coin flip. Do you stick with the tires that may end up working better if you stay on them? Or do you try and make a cut earlier to put yourself further behind, but potentially avoid an even bigger error? And HVSK Katalin is starting to slip on that wet compound tire, and they bang the wall as well. Do they make the decision to switch to the inters? Yes, they do. HVSK Katalin dives straight into the pits and fits on the intermediate tires. Are we going to see a mass switch from the field as HVSK decides not to switch onto the intermediate tires and flies up the field? Maybe they're making a gamble to try and cut it higher across the field. Benjamin is making the switch to the inters. Is Crumben going to do the same thing? Oh, Real Immortals has a full slip! Crumben decides not to switch to the intermediate tires and stays out on the wet compound. The results of the ramifications of this for the race could entirely come down to whether the weather decides to stay at an intermediate range, because it always could go up to full wets again. But everyone has decided to go for the intermediate tires so far, with the exceptions of Crumben and HVSK. if this works out for them, they can absolutely fly up the field, as now HVSK is up to second place and will score the most points from this race, earning a monstrous 36 if he can keep himself in check. Beastova still in the lead, considering that everyone made those decisions. We're now at a point where the track is dry enough to enable DRS, but who knows how long it's going to stay at that general meter for. Of course, everyone here having to make a very educated decision on whether now is the right time to switch to inters, or whether they should stick to what they know. HVSK still has the balls to stay out on full wets. Okay, maybe he's taking a massive gamble. I think HVSK is banking on the weather going back up to being fully wet as well, and that may give him a chance to kind of head at the front runners. RBR Katalin can't defeat too many track limits, but there's no one within their range. There's a duel between the two Canadians of Benjamin and Cool Gamer Kid. Although I think one of them may be mistaken for the other. I think one of them might be the Dane. Benjamin has made a massive decision and has decided to switch to the dry tires. Again, it's very bold considering the track isn't entirely dry yet, despite the weather. But if Benjamin can go quick enough, he may end up securing the fastest lap. As looking at it right now, Beastova still holds it, but by quite a large margin considering the 112 he has now. If Benjamin can get around quick enough, then he may end up getting a fastest lap, even if the weather starts going upwards. Oh, and it immediately proves to be a mistake as Benjamin taps into the wall and starts plummeting down the order. It's disaster for them, and in a twist of fate, Jay-Z is now in 4th place after all of the chaos with the tire switches. This is the question: will the track get drier, or will it go wet again, or will it stay where it is? There are so many questions asked by this as we approach the halfway mark, and HVSK still hasn't made the decision to switch off the full wet tires. Remember, if HVSK can pull this off, he is going to gain 50 points from winning the race with the IndyCar. So really, I feel like his idea for trying to take this gamble may end up pulling off, because he may still finish in a decent position if he can get to the end on this compound. But hold on, I think the weather's starting to increase. Yeah, look, the DRS disabled thing started showing up. But the question is, if the rain is increasing, how much? Will it stay at a generally low rate, or will it go back to a blistering amount of rain? I'm not entirely sure, and HVSK, if he gets this right, may have even gotten a free pit stop for it. Hold on, I'm going to take this. Currently, the duel between HVSK and Katalin is really starting to spice up, as this is going to determine quite a lot in the championship if HVSK can stick ahead of Katalin. But of course, with the rain slightly increasing, it is going back to mainly intermediate preferred, like... Let me try saying that again, because my mind sort of tripped itself. This is now the optimal amount of rain for intermediate tires, but will it stay there? Will it increase? And if so, again, by how much? Who knows? The track may even end up getting drier. I'm not sure. Currently, Beastova is still in the lead, and his decision to switch to the inters has seriously paid off. Although, if the track goes back to full wet conditions, he may end up needing to do another pit stop, which could potentially put him in range of HVSK. Again, we'll just have to wait and see. Beastova stays out once again on that intermediate compound. He's putting all his money on the weather staying in that general range. And Jay-Z, after all of the chaos, is now having a battle with Cool Gamer Kid after Jay-Z made the correct guess when it came to the tire compounds. This could be an incredible result for them, and it would be pretty ironic considering the intro showcases... I was about to say it would be ironic considering the intro showcases the 1992 crashing, but I should probably shut the fuck up. Oh my god. Hold on, did Benjamin crash? No, he didn't. He just had rip in the chat. I'm not too sure why. Crumbin is starting to fall down the order more and more. Crumbin has made the decision to go to full dries, and the track is starting to absolutely pour it down with rain, as it's starting to go higher and higher, and Crumbin has been caught in a bind with the dry tires, and is starting to plummet. And look, Benjamin is on the intermediate compound, and even though they're slipping a little bit, it's certainly a better spot than what Crumben's in right now. So Crumben, who's currently in third in the Drivers' Championship, it has to do so much damage control now to get themselves back into the pits. Beeston is deciding to go another lap on the intermediate tyres as the rain is still starting to increase more and more. I'm not entirely sure how high the heights are going to go. Maybe it could just stay into range. I'm not entirely sure. But still, there's a battle brewing on between HVSK and RVR Katalin now. Katalin, of course, was a driver who was knocked down from second place after they didn't show up in the previous one, and they've been on the podium so many times, but never actually been able to eke out a win. A lot of people say that the day that happens, they're gonna, you know, win the lottery. But of course, RVR Katalin is very much trying to go for like a lottery play, no matter what the weather does from here, considering the way that the compounds are acting. Jay-Z is currently in fifth as he's watching the battle just ahead between Cool Game and okay, never mind. You know, the way this leaderboard structures itself makes it a little bit difficult to focus on particular things sometimes. Beeston is making the decision to stay out on the intermediate compound. I don't think he has any plans to switch to the wets anytime soon. Maybe that could be an indicator for the weather. Maybe it's because of him taking a risk. I'm not too sure. But Beastama has a big enough lead to nurse the car home now. So is he going to be able to pull that off? Crumben has switched to the wet compound tire, but his decision to try and go on dries has cost him dearly. He's gone for potentially battling for a podium all the way down to 9th. And that right there is why the 2010 car gets you so many bonus points, because of how risky it is to pick in general. Also, can we, for a second, appreciate the fact that Real Immortals was able to climb so far using just a, Hold on! RVR Katalin has made a decision! They're going for the full wets! HVSK was always driving on the full wets, so maybe he may have made the correct decision by trying to stay on that this whole time. I'm not sure. Benjamin is saying that he now has to go, which is very unfortunate considering the position he was looking to get, but he'll still be able to get at least 1 point from the end of this race, considering the disconnection rule. Because if that's out of his control, then he will still get the points for the last vacant slot in the standings. RVR Katalin's decision to switch to wets may have been a bit of an odd one, but they may end up getting a new refresh for the grip that they're hoping to pull off. Beastama still sticking very far ahead, but as the rest of the field have or at least a majority of the... And Benjamin... Yeah, but Benjamin's leaving anyway. Why am I focusing on them? Okay, but the real battle here is the battle between RVR Katalin and HVSK, as even though HVSK has decided on the right compound, they've still been on that compound for a very long time, so RVR Katalin may still be able to catch up to HVSK before the end of the race. Although we're only about 5 laps to go, it may be tight. And in a battle that's as tight as that, Katalin can't be making those sorts of mistakes if he wants to try and keep the position. But also, it's been quite the comeback drive from JZ50. He oddly made a pretty good decision by picking the 1992 car, considering how everyone else started slipping around him. Of course, what happened in the previous race was not due to him picking the Indy car, considering he had a disconnection, but maybe that car just gives him a bad taste in his mouth now. I'm not too sure. It's seeming like Beastama has his win locked in unless he makes a major blunder, such as a crash. And now he's actually gotten to the point of lapping RVR Katalin. If he can catch up to HVSK, which doesn't seem likely considering how he's essentially an entire split ahead, then he may pull off the first lapping the field of the series. But again, I'm not too sure, so don't quote me on that. Are there any battles that are potentially going? Hold on, was that a slip? I don't think it was. Currently, the last battle of the field for a position, at least as of what I'm aware of, is between Real Award. I'm gonna take a sip of this. Currently, the last proper battle in the field that has a chance to shake up the standings are between Real Immortals and Alan Walker Musical. Alan Walker haven't actually showed up for pretty much any races, so them showing up here is a bit odd, considering I thought they were out of the championship battle ages ago, but maybe they just want to scrap for more points for a little bit of fun, which I can't blame them. It's more fun when there's a big leaderboard here. And of course, Real Immortals, who, if you remember from earlier, was battling for 5th with a broken wing. Of course, the best he can do right now is 6th, but still, that is one hell of an accomplishment. Actually, wait, I think Jay-Z may be starting to lose ground. If Jay-Z loses his position to these two drivers, then that is going to be disastrous for his championship hopes, considering that he still has the championship lead, but that's starting to wane. Race after race after race. And all in all, I'm not too sure he's going to be able to keep it. HVSK is still doing good. I was half expecting him to slip there. Alan Walker Musical, I think, is starting to... No, wait, that's a left car. My 21, I'm pretty sure, should here for a bit of fun. Okay, Real Immortals is starting to slowly catch up, but Alan Walker has made a mistake by cutting too many track limits. That could be huge for the battle between them and Jay-Z, as Jay-Z is pretty much just going on, hoping and praying that he doesn't make any mistakes, as the field behind him is slowly starting to slip out just that little bit more over time. I'm not too sure who's going to be able to properly pull it off out of everyone in this field, considering how there's just enough of a reason for everyone else to finish on top of each other. So, again, we'll just have to wait and see. Real Immortals got a beautiful curve there. Both of the drivers behind them are quite notably on the intermediate compound, while Jay-Z, I'm pretty sure, is on full wets. Can't see it there, but I'm pretty sure the reason he's been able to climb up so far is because of those. And as a note, the positions are finished for anyone who's not really close to the line from the second the leader crosses. Although the second this will be a big moment for Real Immortals, as he makes a really nice curve around there, and as he approaches closer and closer to Jay-Z. If Jay-Z wants to get this 5th place and potentially keep himself in the championship battle, he needs to win this duel. But of course, when it's going from the newest classic car to the oldest classic car, that's not very likely. It's a little bit of a slide for Jay-Z, but he controls it very nicely. Even though Real Immortals does have the position, whether he'll be able to keep it entirely comes down to whether he'll be able to control any spins or not. Because one spin is all it takes to change the dynamic of a duel like this forever. Alan Walker Musical is of course hungry and trying to get his piece of the pie as well, so we may see a sudden lunge from him. Oh, what did I say? Real Immortals have made a little bit of a slip, and Jay-Z has gained the position once again. Cool Gamer Kid's actually starting to make a couple of issues as well, so if he does a full slip, 4th place may even be on the table too. Look at how much care he needs to put into the braking just to nurse the tires. Currently, Real Immortals is a little bit behind Jay-Z. He controls a very nice potential curve and bolts it into 5th place once again. But of course, it is still very equal between these two, despite the car differences. It all comes down, again, to whether Real Immortals makes those mistakes. Alan Walker Musical has potentially found his way up. Jay-Z cuts a track limit, but he doesn't have a penalty enabled yet. That's going to be a warning to him to be very, very careful from here on out. But of course, he is still playing it somewhat ballsy to potentially keep up with Real Immortals if he ends up nailing these last sectors, which isn't the most likely thing in the world, considering the issues he's already been facing. Okay, he takes it a little bit wide, but he doesn't have any full track limits yet. Jay-Z showing some incredible control of the car. Real Immortals, of course, not out of the woods yet, and Alan Walker Musical is hoping to get a piece of the pie. Does Real Immortals nail the slalom? Yes, he does, although it requires a lot of self-control. Jay-Z nails it, Alan Walker nails it, and this battle is still raging on. But time is running out as Beastava is on his final lap and is approaching the finish line nearer and nearer and nearer. Who will be ahead by the time? Who will be ahead by the time Beastava finishes? Will it be Real Immortals? Will it be Jay-Z? Will it even be Alan Walker? I'm not too sure. Beastava is now past the first sector for the final lap. The checkered flag is going to start waving any moment now. Cool Gamer Kid makes a spin! 4th place is potentially up for grabs! Real Immortals makes another jump towards it! Is he going to be able to maintain 4th place? comes in second place after holding on to his potential position with one of the hardest cars to control for so long, and he gains the most points from this race, considering he earns a juicy 36, which I think is a point record for this. RVR Katalin finds their way back into the podium, and I think back into third place, but I'll have to check it later. And after such a close duel, Real Immortals comes in fourth by the thinnest margins to get just that little bit of extra points in the field. Cool Gamer Kid makes a last-second blunder, losing that position, potentially kicking themselves for it. JZ50 unable to hold on in that battle, but 6th place will still give them a solid pool of points. And then from there, it's Alan Walker, Crumvent, and Might. What a finish! Hold on, though. Before we get to the results section... Yep, that really cool battle you saw at the end was for nothing. We were on the verge of greatness. We were this close! This race had a lot going on, but almost all of it was bad news for our championship leader, Jay-Z. Because even though he took a risk by picking the 1992 car, which did end up paying off considering he got 5th, it still wasn't anywhere near the level of both HVSK and Beastover, where even though Beastover did end up winning the race and got the fastest lap, it would actually be HVSK who got the most points in this race, considering he took a gamble similar to Jay-Z by picking the Indy car, but he made it really work by getting into 2nd place. And if you times 18 by 2, you get 36, which is a record high for points earned in one race, and brings HVSK even closer to Jay-Z. The only good news for Jay-Z is because Real Mortals ended up getting disqualified, that gives him just a couple more points than he would have gotten had he not been disqualified. It was also a great day for Katalin, who was able to claw their way back into the top 3 after not being able to attend the previous race, with a reserve driver which doesn't check their calendars. And it's quite interesting to note that Cool Gamer Kid was in 2nd place in the previous race, and has now fallen down to 4th. It doesn't really speak poorly of Cool Gamer Kid as a driver, but a lot of stars had to align for him to briefly get into 2nd place, and I feel like when we look back on the results in, you know, however long it is until we're looking back at this league nostalgically, we're probably gonna look at ourselves, chuckle, and go, oh yeah, Cool Gamer Kid was in 2nd. That was funny. However, the other front-running high scorer, Beastover, isn't that far away from the podium, only being about 12 points down from Katalin. So a lot of people are predicting that he is going to get that point margin very soon. And with the next race being his home race, the British Grand Prix, he is not going to let that opportunity slip past him.